can't wait to share.
Okay. All right. So we'll come back to the commitment thing. I guess we'll start here, and then I'll throw in some stuff every once in a while to go along. All right. So when you say you want to understand
What is
man
man up, man down?
yeah, and you're saying you want to understand what man down is. Well, let's go. What is man down?
Well, have you
So
heard what she said? Yeah, let her tell us story.
Tell us your story.
Well, I come from a background of women who aren't married. You know, we were raised in just a maternal household. That was it. So we really got the nature side of life with the supporting yourself, put your name on everything. You don't need a man to help you do this. You know what I'm saying? Just standing on our own 2 feet, erect. You know what I'm saying? If I can use that term. Just learning how to be soft. Now, the other side of it, I know my feminine side also. I work really hard on working with my emotions as a woman, how to deal with them. So a lot of my friends come to me with the whole, what do I do? How do I operate in my relationships and stuff like that, even the married ones. And I've never been married, but I try to give them a different role on how a male perspective is looking at it. So a lot of my friends tell me when I'm in a relationship, I'm a man in a relationship. You know, so that hits me hard because I don't want to be perceived as a man in a relationship because I know how a man operates or what he could be thinking and how your words can be interpreted, but it comes off like that. And I think it falls back to the maternal.
I'm going to say right now, I think you're going to look at too hard on yourself. All right, thank you for sharing that with me, being honest with you. Appreciate that. All right, so you're saying,
when I first heard that,
give us the situation.
Well, when I first heard the term "man up," it sounded as if we were dealing with men who were less than men, and I'm not sure what that means. But that's the connotation that I heard that in. It sounded like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Be more of a man and stop being a whatever is less than a man. I don't get that. I don't understand that.
Okay, so I'm guessing that you come from a family where none of the men in your family are lacking anything.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So then when you hear, well, what does it mean to not be a man? Because
yeah, that's all I know.
That's outside of your paradigm.
Exactly.
So what exactly is coming across? Well, there's a couple of things, and I think this is really key. I think it's kind of related, kind of not. One of the first things that happens in a relationship, I think, among our people in our community, is the first time when not the first time, but when a woman becomes, African American woman becomes unhappy with a man, it's the first thing that happens is they say, well, you need to be a real man. And I think what happens to that is the construct of what some people think a real man is, and what some other people may think a real man is. So what I've seen in my research from some of my students and some of the interviews that I've had, and I've talked to a few black women, and I'm going to stick on this for a second and come back, is that within the African American community, brothers kind of know this, but I don't think the brothers really know this, but there's a lot of hurt and pain that black women have among black men. And I'm going to push on this just for a second, and then I'll let everyone jump in. And what the hurt and pain, we know the sisters may have, quote unquote, an attitude, or what angry black woman syndrome. We've all heard of that. So black guys kind of understand, okay, well, she's black, she may have an attitude. But I don't think the average black man really understands the hurt and pain. Some of my students have written some journals, have written some things, and I've read what they say about how they feel about the black. They feel let down. When a sister calls a black man my brother, she means my brother. And that's a part of the burden of our masculinity. If you're black male and a sister comes up and says, my brother, oh man, whatever I'm doing, I got to stop and I got to help her. She's identified me as a black man, and I'm supposed, and that's a lot of the burden. And I think that's where you come from. All the black men in your family, you kind of like fit along with that. And so what happens is that burden, when a black woman has been let down by a black man, that has a cascading effect. So there's a few black women who felt let down and abandoned and left by their dads, not being respected. They feel like they're disrespected in the media. There's a lot of that energy that comes along. And I'm thinking what happens, because we have so many homes where there's single black women that are running things, is that they have an expectation of what a man is. Now, whether what that man is, whether it's based on reality or not, that's part of what I think the problem is, because they may not have had that particular model in the home, that creates a deficit. The other side is, I don't necessarily believe that you have to see it to be it. You know, I've heard that before, and I know that's a thing from the black man. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think I think you don't necessarily have to see a black man to understand what you want in a husband, but I do have to think that you have to see loving and kind and working relationships. You follow what I'm saying? I don't necessarily follow where I'm going. So that's a little bit of a dichotomy. I'm going to pause right there and jump over to what you said just for a second. It seems like to me that if you already have the perspective of a man, what your friends kind of say, well, you know, you're the man of the relationship. You may, they come to you from like me, a male perspective. It seems like to me already that you have both the male and the female. Just for the fact that you can sit back and you can make a distinction between one and the other, I think what happens is maybe not necessarily on internal, but I think maybe perception-wise. But I think as far as the basic things, just for the fact that you can identify that there's a male and a female perspective means that you've already looked at things on both sides. So I think you're already a step ahead of the game. I think shifting so that other people may see that you understand the feminine side more than the male side. I think, but from what I hear what you said, and I'm going to come right back to that and I'm going to answer this question right here, and then I'll let everyone respond. But men are not afraid of commitment. They're afraid of being committed to the wrong person. And so most men are about commitments. I need to stand up and go to work or whatever. You know, men have no problems making commitment. They don't want to be in a situation where they let themselves down if the woman that they're with down. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about masculinity. So there's this concept, what they call hegemonic masculinity. Hegemonic masculinity says that everything in the world, pretty much colonized, is based on white, middle-class men. So if you're not white, middle-class, you're not male, you don't fit that paradigm. And how that happens in education is that if you notice, when they give tests, they'll say, okay, well, African-American students aren't doing as well as whites. Women aren't doing as well as white men. Why is it that no one ever says that, oh, African-Americans aren't doing as well as Asians? Well, what is the paradigm? Well, it's the test that's been created has been measured on the white man. And so not just for men, African-Americans, but women, all of that stuff. If you're not white, middle class, you don't fit that paradigm. And so where that comes into your area of masculinity is you're always being compared to something that is not yourself. So how can you ever win? How can you ever achieve? That plays a big role in your masculinity. But the other aspect of that, if you're gay, they're kind of like, well, if you're gay, you're not fitting that hegemonic masculinity thing as well. So I had this conversation just not too long ago. I said, well, football players, they think that they're better than everybody else, because I play high school football, which is a rite of passage. So, and I was explaining to the guy, well, when I play football, and this guy is gay, I was like, it's not that I thought that I was better than you. I didn't even know that you for me to have to compare myself to, you think I'd have to actually, well, if you didn't try out for the team, you were on a football team, I didn't even know you were there. So it's not that I'm thinking, or the guys, we thought that we were better than you. So what happens is that hegemonic masculinity that we're fighting, all males competing. But once you're on the inner circle, so to speak, once you make the football team, your life isn't over. Once you make the football team, then you're trying to start. Once you try and start, then you try and go both ways, offensive, defense. Once you do that, then you're trying to be team captain. Once you do that, then you're trying to get state. Then you get national. Once you do that, then you want to be team captain. Then once you do that, then you want to go to, it's a never-ending cycle. And I've never heard the other side about, oh, well, they feel that. And I was like, but the other part to that, the commitment, where you're going to, if football team, I'm going to stick with football because it's the most popular sport right now. When you play football and you're a football player, and it's kind of like the school, like, yeah, right. You kind of feel that the whole weight of the whole school is on your back every time you step on the field. And so if you win, teachers, yeah, you get good grades. And I know for a fact that if you lose a football game, right, support a football game, your grades go down. Okay? And so that's how much pressure it is, not all around, but if you play football and you're on a team, all the cheerleaders like, yeah, the whole school, if you lose, it's crushing to you emotionally. So if you're on a football team and you're a man guy and you lose a football and the cheerleaders cry, for a man, you just made a woman cry because you didn't win. And so that inner circle of masculinity, so that's what men are worried about when it comes to commitment. We're not afraid of making commitment. we're afraid of committing to the wrong thing or to the wrong person. And I think that's a little bit of this. So it's not necessarily they're afraid of commitment. They just want to be sure that if I commit to this woman, I can meet her needs. Financially, emotionally, physically, all of those things. And as a black man, and then I'm gonna stop here and let everybody jump in, as a black man, and I talked about this earlier, that pressure